Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as FDR's, but hey, it's something. Okay, so there's currently a lot of things going on, so let me just get right to the main stuff. First, a follow-up to something that I talked about in a previous episode. Tulsi Gabbard has officially announced that she is dropping out of her congressional run. She's going to forego a congressional run and focus purely on her presidential run. Well, my personal thoughts on that is very simple. Nah, I don't approve. But I do see where she's coming from. You see, Tulsi Gabbard, she's, like, her thing is that she's running a campaign like, people have been saying, like, dude, why is she dropping out of this? She should drop out of the presidential race and endorse Bernie and blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. Tulsi said in her video that she's going to run for the race that she thinks she can make the most use in. Like, she's going to make the most impact in the presidential race. You know, because she's going to have her voice on the national stage. Now, she also says that she's not focusing on a political career. She did her job in the Congress, so she's like, that's it. My job in the Congress is fulfilled. My new job is to focus on this presidential run to see if I can make a change in the White House. I argue that she could have made a much better impact as a, as a member of Congress. But, I guess we're kind of in the area where we split hairs on this. Personally, again, I do think that Tulsi should have dropped out of the presidential race and endorsed Bernie and then went to the House. But I mean, it's really up to Tulsi at this point. There's been many people saying, oh, maybe she's doing this because she wants a job in the Bernie White House or a job in the Biden White House and the blah, 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 blah. I think it's more genuine than that. I think she knows she's on Bernie's radar. So maybe she's, like, trying to see, will that work? But I mean, at this point, it doesn't really matter. Tulsi made up her mind, and she's going to stay in the presidential race. I really hope that she reconsiders. But as of this point, me and her have officially stopped walking on the same path. She's not on my website anymore because if she's not running in Hawaii District 2, there's no point for her being there. Because I'm not endorsing her for president. I'm endorsing Bernie. So, yeah. Tulsi's and my path has officially split. Though I have a feeling that the paths are going to converge once more. Whether it be as Bernie's VP, Bernie's Secretary of State, Bernie's, I don't know, maybe she'll run for Senate in Hawaii in the future. Which is weird when she could have ran last year, but whatever. More things that happened are some elections. Canada and Bolivia held elections. We'll start off with Bolivia, because Bolivia is kind of more of a win. Bolivia has Evo Morales winning re-election. But he's facing some troubles, as there's a lot of protests saying that, many of his rivals are staging protests saying that the election was rigged. Morales won 46.49% of the vote, which was 9.5 points ahead of his main rival, Carlos Mesa. It's 9.5%, 9.5 points ahead of his rival, but technically you need 10 points to avoid a runoff. Now, Evo Morales is saying, it doesn't necessarily matter. It's a 0.5 percentage off, so it doesn't really matter at this point. Pretty much won, so, what's the point? So he declared victory. But his opponents are mad because they're like, yo, what the F, bro? They're accusing him of electoral fraud. There have been a lot of annulled ballots, and they're rioting in the streets. And Evo Morales has accused them of trying to stage a coup against him. They're trying to instill themselves as the true leaders when the electoral results don't really show that. Now, this situation kind of sounds familiar in a sense. One person claims to be the true victor of an election and is trying to go up against an elected socialist. And in a Latin American country. Weird. Hey, Maduro, do you know anything about this? So yeah, as you can see, it's a bit obvious that this is kind of a repeat of the Venezuela controversy to an extent. The one credence I'll give to Massa is he at the very least participated in an election to accuse Morales of fraud. Like, Guaido didn't even run in the election. Like, I mean, if you're not gonna run in the election, you can't accuse one person of stealing an election. And another reason, like, I don't really buy into Morales stealing the election because the results were still relatively close. Like, I mean, let's just be fair and look at the results of these elections. Let's start off with Venezuela. Venezuela, Maduro had 67.8% of the vote, and his closest opponent had 20.9% of the vote. Okay. It's a pretty decent lead, but, I mean, not really big. In Bolivia, 47.8% of the vote went to Morales, and 36.51% went to Mesa. And in Russia, 76.69% of the vote went to Putin, and 11.77% of the vote went to his opponent, Pavel Grudinin of the Communist Party. Yeah, I mean, actual rigged elections, you can tell when they rig the election because they put themselves in like a million percentage points farther from their opponent. Like, I mean, even with Venezuela, you can make a little bit of an argument saying, well, I mean, 67%. It's like, okay, maybe, but I mean, Morales, I mean, this is like a so small margin. Like, they're 9.5%, like, they have 9.5 points off. You think that if Morales rigged the election, he would have, made himself seem more popular in his country? Like, I mean, he would have made his opposition seem completely minute. Like, I mean, of course you can't rig the election 100% by saying, like, oh, I win at 100% of the vote. Like Putin, he didn't say, oh, I won literally every Russian vote ever. No, he gave himself some leg room, but, I mean, just look, Bolivia, this election was not rigged. You can clearly tell it was not rigged at all. And you want me to give you one more piece of evidence to show that it's not rigged? Morales has actually stated that he is asking foreign governments to audit his election, and is saying if there is some fraud in there, he is willing to go to a runoff election between him and Massa. Sounds completely guilty, am I right? Like, seriously, this is just trying to do another repeat of a already pretty much debunked story of, like, the Venezuela coup. Pretty soon we're going to have to be saying hands off of Bolivia, more than likely. And they're probably going to make their way to Mexico because they already started the whole AMLO's ruining press freedom stuff in the news. And I'm like, and go on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure if you still look up AMLO, it's still like him sucking up to Maduro. But we gotta make up excuses for U.S. intervention somehow. The next election is coming from our neighbors in the north, Canada. Canada just held their 43rd, their election to hold the 43rd Parliament. And here are the results of it. Justin Trudeau is still the Prime Minister. The Liberal Party has 157 seats. Andrew Scheer came in a close second with 121 seats. this is where things start getting shaken up. You see, Yves-François Blanchet of the Bloc Québécois has 32 seats, making them the third largest party in the Canadian Parliament. Jagmeet Singh of the New Democratic Party currently has 24 seats now. Elizabeth May of the Green Party now holds 3 seats. There is one independent, and Maxime Bernier's People's Party lost its 1 seat, his seat. So yeah, Bernier's not in Parliament anymore. That's one good thing to come out of this election. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't entirely expecting... in my heart of hearts, I wanted Jagmeet Singh to be the new Prime Minister of Canada. We'd have AMLO in Mexico, Jagmeet Singh in Canada, and then in the US in 2020, we can elect Bernie Sanders to be president, so we'd have a left-wing North America. But it was pretty clear. I was thinking, yeah, this is more than likely not gonna happen, but I was hoping, best case scenario that, or realistic best case scenario, they overtake the Tory party as the second largest party and become the opposition to the Liberal Party, or, as many people were saying, maybe the Conservative Party wins and then the New Democratic Party becomes the opposition of the Conservative Party. But it didn't really happen in either scenario. In fact, they lost some seats. Now, to be honest, I kind of saw it coming. I wouldn't say I was... When I heard, the New Democratic Party lost seats, I wasn't surprised. Because, to be honest, Jagmeet Singh has not really been doing a good job in regards to leading the New Democratic Party. He's been, banning members left and right. He's been, he's not really been doing a good job in regards to certain things. In regards to leadership of his party, I don't really think so. But in regards to leadership as a prime minister, he seemed like a really good choice. He was a good candidate in this regard. And I think he would have been a great prime minister should he had been given the chance, but it kind of seemed very likely that he wasn't going to do a good job because, he had a member of the New Democratic Party was talking to the Green Party, and then he expelled them. Then he expelled, he forbade certain people from running as New Democrats because of certain issues. And blah, 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 blah. Pretty much they've been doing a lot of things that are come on, Jagmeet, don't do this. Come on, dude. You're better than this. Again, saying that it would be unexpected would be dishonest because I don't think... it was kind of pretty obvious that it could happen. Now, does this mean that Jagmeet Singh is a bad leader of the New Democratic Party? Not necessarily. You see, their most prominent leader, the New Democratic Party's most prominent leader, Jack Layton, he started out not so hot. In fact, to be honest, the New Democratic Party, when you look at their electoral results, they didn't really do so hot for a while. It wasn't until 2011 where people legitimately oh shit, the New Democratic Party, we better pay attention to them a lot, because in 2011, Jack Layton was able to take the New Democratic Party and take them from number 4 to number 2. They became the opposition. And Jack Layton was their leader from 2004 to, or at least in regards to the electoral things, he was their leader throughout the 2004, 2006, 2008, and 2011 elections. And it was consistently 4th party until 2011, when he managed to shoot them all the way up to number 2. So maybe this is just the beginning of Jagmeet Singh. He needed to get... he needs to get a feel for his party. Yeah, it seems likely that could be the case. He needs to get a feel for his party before he's truly, clear cut, like, I'm going to lead this party into the future. Now, the people that are seen as the big winners of the night are the Conservative Party because they had the highest vote share, the Green Party because they shot to having 2 seats to 3 seats. I mean, that's considered a win for them, I guess. But the biggest winners of the night, obviously, were Bloc Québécois, because now they have 32 seats. So, there's that for them. I don't necessarily know what this would mean for Canadian politics, because Bloc Québécois is weird. They're Quebec nationalists, only run in Quebec. You know, Quebec, Quebec, Quebec. We love Quebec. Fuck everybody else. Quebec. I don't know. Maybe this will bring Quebec issues to the center of the Canadian stage. Maybe this could help. And besides, Bloc Québécois is somewhat lefty, so at least in regards to those policies, I think they'll do fine for the most part. Especially if, to be honest, I kind of want to see if Bloc Québécois, Jagmeet Singh with the New Democratic Party, and Elizabeth May of the Green Party, let's see how many seats that would make them. Okay, so it's 32. Okay, let's see. Plus 3 plus 24. That's 59 seats. It still wouldn't be a big coalition. But I mean, I could see these 3 political parties forming a coalition if they chose to, but it would be cool, but it wouldn't be the best. And as you can see, there's some problems with all this stuff, like, I mean, I guess it's a weird thing about the parliamentary system, because Jagmeet Singh actually has more votes than the Bloc Québécois in the New Democratic Party. Like, more people turned out to vote for the New Democratic Party than the Bloc Québécois, obviously because New Democratic Party was in every constituency and Bloc Québécois was just in Quebec. But Bloc Québécois won more seats, just because in each individual constituency, these people were running in these individual constituencies and they win. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely some weird particulars about all this, but I mean, for the most part, good job on Bloc Québécois for getting to their position that they are in now. Let's see what Canada's gonna do next. The next story, coming back to the United States, is from our good old buddy, the U.S. House of Representatives. House overwhelmingly approves contentious new copyright bill. On Tuesday, the House of Representatives overwhelmingly voted to approve a measure that would shake up the Copyright Office if it were made into law, creating a small claims court where online content creators can go after their infringers. The Copyright Alternative in Small Claims Enforcement Act, or the CASE Act, for short, was approved by 410 to 6 vote. Representative Hakeem Jeffries introduced the measure last year with the goal of giving graphics artists, photographers, and other content creators a more efficient pathway towards receiving damages if their works are infringed. Under current law, all copyright suits must go through the federal courts, a system that is often costly and time-consuming for creators who decide to litigate their cases. Okay, so, as outlined in the bill, damages would be capped at $15,000 for each infringed work and top out at $30,000 total. Now, here's the thing. The bill, like always, like every single copyright bill, every single big measure like this, they always claim that we're looking out for creators. Whenever the internet is brought into the equation, it's always like, we're here to fix it. We're here to make things better. Net neutrality is going to save the internet. SOPA is going to help the internet and content creators. The CASE Act will help save creators. It'll be good for creators. Here's the thing. No, it won't. Like, SOPA was all written about, Stop Online Piracy Act. And this is like, we need to protect copyright owners, protect the creators. The Case Act is recently being called the Meme Act, the Anti-Meme Act, because it would make it so that people could just make copyright claims on anything. And it lessens the process. Like, we have to, like, currently the process is fucked up as it is. It would make it worse. It would give us less creative freedom because we would have less, like with all these acts, they always claim, like, we're gonna help the creators. The creators are legitimately the, like, top, like, media companies. The top media companies are the ones who always benefit from these. Like SOPA. We need to stop an online piracy act. What would it do? What would it do? You think it sounds good, but what would it do? It would create it so that the big corporations have all the cards, and so would the Case Act. The big corporations that control all this stuff, they have all the cards. The actual creators who create stuff transformatively with this work do not have any of the cards. Like, there's, like, have you ever seen a YouTube poop? Do you know what a YouTube poop is? A YouTube poop is where someone edits an episode of whatever the fuck. It could be an episode of SpongeBob, it could be an episode of Peppa Pig, Jimmy Neutron, Danny Phantom, it could be the presidential debate. It doesn't matter. They take that, they make funny dick jokes, like, haha, they'll be like, Patrick, you are a stupid pink bitch. Like, they'll say it in this stupid, nonsensical way, edit it so that it's funny, haha, SpongeBob and Patrick are 69ing, haha, joke, pee poop, caca. Haha, funny joke. These guys consistently make these, like, these guys make great videos. They're highly edited. They're well put together. These people do really good jobs on these things. But just because, like, it's a transformative work, using copyrighted material, but making it into something completely separate from the original work. Under these BS copyright laws that we have now and that we are going to have with the Case Act, that is treated as the same thing as if I took the entire series of Steven Universe, posted it on my YouTube channel with like 30 ads claiming that it was my work. It's fucked up. It's stupid. And the thing is, again, the guys on the top, the rich people who own these works, they're the ones who are benefiting from this. Do you think Steven Hillenberg gave a shit that somebody made a SpongeBob YouTube poop? Haha. Do you think he gave a shit? No, he did not. He didn't. Literally, he did not give a shit. Viacom, the company that owns SpongeBob, is the one who cares. And, like, Turner is the one who cares if someone makes a funny haha of Steven Universe. Rebecca Sugar, she doesn't care. She's like about to finish the show and be done. You think she cares if someone makes a funny joke with Steven being gay or something? No. It's stupid. And the worst part is, literally every single person that is an incumbent in Congress that is on my website, except for the Senate, because they haven't voted yet, has voted for this. They voted for this act. And I'm pretty sure that Tulsi Gabbard was a co-sponsor. She was the only one who didn't vote on it, but she was a co-sponsor, I think. Shame on all of you. Shame. This is a terrible vote, and you should all be ashamed of it. This copyright BS is always a thing. We always try to get fairer copyright laws. Like, online creators have banded together time and time again to get fairer copyright laws. Where's the fair use? Stop SOPA. They've tried this over and over again so that the internet can be a better place where creativity can roam free. But no, we don't get that because we don't get the ability to go to the Congress and tell them up front this is a bad choice. This is always a problem. Ever since the beginning of YouTube, this has been an issue. And it will continue to be an issue until people make it known that this is a serious thing. That's why I'm really fucking pissed that the Pirate Party doesn't get more active. This is their bread and butter. They can take this and go places with it. Copyright law itself is a pretty easy thing to be on the side of consumers for. Which is why these shitty copyright laws always get passed. Because they always have to word it as if they're on the side of the consumer. Then they're on the side of like, no, we're on your side. We're here to help you in case you create something. It's fucking stupid. It's legitimately always going to be a thing. Hell, this is the funny thing. I actually kind of wanted to do like one of these media channels, like, oh, let's critique movies, and oh, let's talk about this media thing. But I'll have to worry about the stupid copyright BS. It's fucking stupid. In fact, I mentioned how this was like since the beginning of YouTube. Do you know how all this copyright law and copyright ID on YouTube and bullshit like this started? Like, it kind of started, to an extent, on the internet age, when Viacom uploaded their own clips from their own shows on YouTube, so that they could sue YouTube for having clips from their shows. Like, you're literally just walking... The people who voted for this, they're just walking everyone into a trap. And it's fucked up, and I legitimately hope that it dies in the Senate. Mitch McConnell, do me a favor. Make this one of the bills that you just let die. That's all I want. You can do that for me and whatever. Speaking of disappointments, Amy Klobuchar qualifies for the November debate. Who gives a shit, really? Amy Klobuchar, who literally cares about Amy Klobuchar? Nobody cares about Amy Klobuchar. She's running. I don't know how she got this far, but legitimately, nobody cares. Okay, so moving on. The next story, quote unquote, is really just something interesting. I don't think I have a particular news source for this, because it's kind of been everywhere. But here's something interesting. Joe Biden apparently sucks so bad, like, sucks so fucking bad, that people who have been speculated for presidential candidates in 2017 are now being refloated as possible late jumpers. And, I mean, the names are just popping up left and right. Michael Bloomberg, Hillary Clinton, Eric Holder, Deval Patrick, John Kerry, Sherrod Brown. These names are just like, oh, these guys might jump in late in the game because Joe Biden sucks so bad. They need to get their base from him. Legitimately, none of these guys are fucking important. Nobody gives a shit about any of these guys. Nobody cares about Hillary Clinton. Everybody pretends that everyone's like clamoring for Hillary Clinton to re-enter the race. Like the thing is, the media bubble, they're so far up their ass, they think they know what the American people want. They don't. It's like Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg, he's seriously like, I need to save the day because I need to enter the race. And then Ralph Nader's like, yes, you need to do that. I'm serious. Ralph Nader actually legitimately thinks that Michael Bloomberg is seriously an important factor for the 2020 election. Like, what? Michael Bloomberg is not an important factor at all. Literally, nobody would vote for Michael Bloomberg. He'll get like 3 votes, and or he'll get just the people who are currently elected in the Senate to vote for him. Otherwise, he has no one. Nobody cares about Michael Bloomberg. Bill de Blasio, a guy who has had a better run as New York City's mayor, nobody cared about him running. Like, legitimately, who cares about if Michael Bloomberg runs? Hillary Clinton, everybody's speculating. Hillary Clinton's like, they make a funny joke, like, Donald Trump's like, good thing Hillary's not running again because I'd clobber her again. She's like, don't test me. Everyone's like, yes, Hillary, run again. How about this? Hillary, go fuck America again. Because that's what you did last time. Like, people for some reason are legitimately like, this is literally the same thing that people did about the 2012 election. People were legitimately like, oh, Obama is going to have buyer's remorse in the next election, so literally anybody could replace him. So they're like, yeah, we'll just screw over Ron Paul, so Mitt Romney's our nominee, milquetoast, boring, nobody likes him, and then he'll just easily beat Obama. And it's like, are you fucking stupid? No, that of course wouldn't work. Because nobody gives a shit about Romney. Ron Paul had momentum. Ron Paul, I 100% believe Ron Paul could have beaten Obama. He 100% could have. Because he would have actually been able to contrast with Obama on a lot of stuff. He would have been able to say, Obama, you claim to be like a peace candidate, but you've been entering the U.S. into these interventionist regime change wars. Enough is enough. Let's get out of the wars. Like, because Ron Paul actually believes in stuff. Mitt Romney doesn't believe in anything. And that's why Bernie would have beaten Trump. Because Bernie believes in stuff. Hillary Clinton does not believe in anything. In fact, Hillary Clinton, for some reason, her website now has a platform. It's like, Hillary, stop. Nobody cares. If nobody cares about Joe Biden, why the hell would they care about you? Like, seriously. Joe, you got the dates wrong. You and Hillary got your fucking dates wrong. Hillary was supposed to run in this election. Joe, you were supposed to run in the last run. Joe, like, legitimately. I do believe that, potentially, if Joe ran in the 2016 election, he could have probably done decent. He probably wouldn't have, I don't know if he would have won the election because that's a bit too much speculation on my part, but maybe he would have done better than Hillary, but he would have done worse than Bernie. At the very least, he would have gotten one of those Midwestern states. I don't know which one, but one of them. But anyways, next story, and it's a sad day. Tim Ryan drops out of the presidential race. Now the thing is, some people thought that Tim Ryan dropped out a while ago. Because Tim Ryan, he announced one day randomly on MSNBC that he was suspending his campaign so that he could go back to the House of Representatives. And people were like, wait, did he drop out? What? What happened? He didn't drop out. He suspended his campaign briefly so he could go to the House of Representatives so he could try and reopen the Congress so that they could try to get some gun control passed. It didn't happen, so he went back to the campaign trail. And lo and behold, everyone's like, yeah, Tim Ryan just didn't drop out. But it wasn't 100% clear, because there were a lot of people who still legitimately thought that Tim Ryan was just out of the race. Like, legitimately. I had to get the Hill of Roses on Twitter to basically say, like, hey, dude, Tim Ryan didn't drop out. He's like, wait, I thought he did. And on our campaigns, a website I frequent and try to edit, me and a couple of other users were getting into fights about, like, Tim Ryan. They had him dropped out, but I'm like, no, he suspended his campaign, but he didn't drop out. And he's like, yes, he did. And I'm like, no, he didn't. And they're like, yes, he did. And some people were saying, like, maybe he was doing that as a way to silence his campaign so they could quietly suspend his campaign. I'm like, I don't think it's allowed because people would be still donating to him as a presidential candidate. So it probably wouldn't be legal for him to not formally announce that he's leaving the presidential race. Like, I mean, maybe if you did it for House, that could be done, but it can't be done for the House it can't be done for the presidency because it's such a big office. And Tim Ryan would obviously get into a lot of trouble. Now, everybody was giving Tim Ryan like a congratulatory, like, "Oh, Tim Ryan, thank you for trying to make this campaign about working people, blah, blah, blah." Like, no. Like, legitimately, no. Tim Ryan didn't give a shit about you. He didn't. Otherwise, he would have been advocating for you to get healthcare whenever you needed it. Not get healthcare when it's convenient for you in a cheap way, but not too cheap, because there are some hardworking people in the health insurance industry that are desperately in need of, some support. He would have listened to his House co-sponsoring of Medicare for All. He would have actually done something like that, but he didn't. He didn't care. Because his campaign was for naught. Which is why they're refloating Sherrod Brown's name as a possible presidential contender to try and split the vote in Florida. I see your game here, Democratic Party. You guys just really like having a little too much fun with me, bro. So yeah, ultimately, Tim Ryan, his campaign was boring, inept, stupid. I didn't really give a shit that much. I only cared when he was getting pwned by other candidates. Like, his two most, like, let's just be honest. To be fair, let's be honest. The fact that his two most notable moments during his campaign was other candidates dunking on him should be an indicator about how his presidential ambitions were. We need to stop the Taliban because they're floating planes into our towers. But Bernie, how can you know what's in your own damn bill? You don't know that it'll cover everybody. What did you do, write it? Yeah, this is terrible. Although to be fair, I really didn't expect Tim Ryan to drop out so soon. I'm still perplexed. How were Joe Sestak and Wayne Messam still in the race? How? These two, they've done nothing. No debates. Wayne Messam, his Q3 haul is $5. How is he still in the race? But anyways, speaking of in the race, one person has officially entered the presidential race. The smaller candidate of the day is Don Blankenship. Don Blankenship declares for the Constitution Party presidential nomination. I was wondering when the Constitution Party was going to get back into its craziness. They've gotten right into it. Now, for those of you who don't know who Don Blankenship is a coal miner, not a coal miner. What is he again? Oh yeah, CEO of Massey Energy. So yeah, he was a coal miner. Coal company head. Coal miners and CEOs are pretty much the same thing. I mean, come on. He was the CEO of a large coal company. A coal mine of his exploded, killed a bunch of people. He got arrested. Then he was let go. Claimed that his arrest was a political arrest by Obama or whatever. And ran for senator of West Virginia in the Republican primary. But for some reason kept running ads against Mitch McConnell. We need to stop Cocaine Mitch and his China family. That was his campaign ads. It's what? For some reason, there was one ad where he was holding two little girls. It's where'd you get those from? Where'd you get those two girls from? Did you have them in your basement or something? Dude. I mean, I know Roy Moore likes little girls, but, this is ridiculous. It's weird. He is a weird guy, a weird candidate. Nobody cared about him that much. They were just he's pretty racist and stupid. But, that's average Republican stuff. The real interesting thing was when he lost, he declared that he would run for the Senate as a Constitution Party candidate. Now, I was thinking, like, when it first happened, I was legitimately like, the Constitution Party wouldn't associate with... Never mind, they would. And then he ran... For some reason, he kept changing his party affiliation from Republican to Constitution to Democrat to Constitution again. And now he's officially running for the Constitution Party presidential nomination. Now, let's see. We'll see if he ever gets involved in all the major problems with the Constitution Party that is going on nowadays. But, I mean, now let's move on to the main topic of this video. The North Carolina 2020 election. Now, for those of you who aren't entirely sure what I mean, let me explain. North Carolina, the great Tar Heel state, if you will. We have quite a few races coming up in 2020. We get to vote for the president, we get to vote for the House, we get to vote for Senate, we get to vote for lieutenant governor, we get to vote for normal governor, and then we get to vote for all the other options that nobody cares. But these are the big races. Everybody's so excited for these races that are coming up. Some for legitimately good reasons, some because they're legitimately just like, I want to just flip the Senate blue. We want to make sure that we keep that, House, like, we need to keep the House blue, and we need to make sure the Senate goes blue. Now, I'm personally of the perspective of, we need to make sure that the House and Senate go progressive. The color it becomes doesn't really matter. It could go green, it can go purple, or whatever. It doesn't matter, just as long as they're all progressive. Now, I've been kind of trying to build somewhat of a progressive coalition in North Carolina. Trying to make sure that certain races are up to snuff. Like a progressive in every House race, a progressive in the lieutenant governor race, a progressive in the Senate race, a progressive in the... all the races, all the major races have a progressive in the running. And I kind of want to make it known how this is currently going out and how the current races are going around. I've talked about these in somewhat... I'm talking about the one specifically regarding me before, but I'll say it again because I think there's really a lot of notable stuff to say. First, let me just break down who is progressive in certain areas. Currently, in the House races, we have 5 House races that I currently find someone that I deem as a progressive. Okay, first, North Carolina District 1, we have DeAndre Carter running against G.K. Butterfield. G.K. Butterfield is a well-known... He's not left. I mean, he's not, like, left, but he's not. Like, out of the 3 Democrats that are currently in the House of Representatives representing North Carolina, GK is in the middle of the two. One's to his left, one's to his right. But GK is also, I think, the one who takes the most corporate PAC money. Like, he takes money from AT&T, which is why he didn't support the net neutrality, like, the actual net neutrality bill, like, the good one. And DeAndre Carter is running to be his progressive replacement. He's a DSA-supported, Medicare for All supporting candidates, like, he's pretty much the ideal candidate. If I were in North Carolina District 1, I'd vote for him 100%. And it's... Now, I know, technically, one of you might look at the race and be like, oh, and cool, and it's a minority going back to the white guy. No. GK's black. Half black, to be honest. He doesn't look it, but he sounds it, quote-unquote, and he's... Like, his parents are black. So, yeah, it's really... This isn't really a race thing. It's not. It's about the policy bones. Now, in North Carolina District 2, we also have another progressive. His name is Reverend Jason Butler. Yes, it's a reverend. It's a Christian. I know what you're maybe thinking. But, yes, I do support those. I support people who are of religious. That is a thing I do. religion is not important. I mean, it's not important. Pretty much, it's not important. As long as you're for the right stuff, it doesn't really matter. You can be a Scientologist for all I care. He co-founded a charity. Yeah, it's like a charity, a non-profit called Exploit No More. And he has been dubbed by many, like his online persona for a while was the progressive pastor. Like he's the progressive pastor because he's a progressive pastor. That's, the name explains it all. Pastor who is for progressive things. Like, he's like, gays? Cool. Transgenders? Cool beans. Like, he likes those, but he also advocates for the other economic progressive things, like making the minimum wage a living wage, Medicare for all, Green New Deal, humane immigration reform. Like, he's a really progressive guy. He deserves credit where credit is due. To be fair, it's pretty clear that he wouldn't be running if his seat... Like, I'm pretty sure that if he was running against a Democratic incumbent, he probably wouldn't be too gung-ho to run. But, I mean, the guy's obviously running for legitimately good reasons, so I applaud him for that. Next is District 4, which is my district. The district I have dubbed home. The candidate in that district is Daniel Ulysses Lockwood. He's a web designer. He was a 2016 Bernie volunteer, a member of the Piedmont DSA. He's running against my incumbent Democrat, David Price. David Price has been in office longer than I have been alive. So, I think it's a good indication that maybe we should get rid of him. Now, if he were leftist, I might be a little more hesitant to support a progressive incumbent. I mean, not a progressive incumbent, like a progressive challenger to him. But he's not. Out of the entirety of North Carolina's delegation, he is ranked the third furthest left. Which you might say, well, that's interesting. But then you start to consider, wait a minute. Only 3 Democrats represent North Carolina districts. So, yes, out of the 3 Democrats, he's the furthest right. Dude, David. But Daniel, perfect. Medicare for all, Green New Deal, ending the war on drugs, $15 minimum wage, student loan debt just gone. Perfect, 100% will vote. I was honestly hoping for Richard L. Watkins to run again, but at this point it doesn't look like he is, so I don't really see any point in waiting any longer. In District 10, we have David Wilson Brown. He was a candidate for this same seat in 2018. And, like his 2018 run, I endorsed him in 2018, alongside a couple other candidates in North Carolina. But, I mean, he's honestly really good. Like, I mean, I think he's a legitimately really good candidate. Same issues apply. Like, he's for the same stuff. So, yeah, that's good on him. Now, North Carolina District 11, we have Steve Woodsmall. Steve Woodsmall was a candidate for this seat last year, but I did not know of him until the primary was over. So, when it was time to officially endorse candidates, I endorsed the person who did win the seat, Philip Price. Philip Price might run again, but Steve Woodsmall got here first, and he's clearly a progressive. Same issues, Medicare for all, minimum wage, being a living wage, legal weed, reinstating neutrality, the whole some biznatch that I got into earlier. So yeah, he's a really good candidate. He's really legitimate. Really think he could be a good part of this progressive coalition. Now, the last member of this progressive coalition is not a House candidate, but is a candidate for lieutenant governor. Now, before I get into that, the lieutenant gubernatorial race was slightly interesting. the lieutenant gubernatorial race, I was kind of struck between two candidates, Alan Thomas and Bill Toole. Now, I've explained this before, but let me explain again why these two were good candidates. They were saying some of the right stuff, but one was more of a ideological leftist, whereas the other was more of a like a progressive with a platform. Like, one was like I'm a progressive, but I have big ideas. And the other one was like, okay, this, and this is what I'm for. Let's go and get it to work. Alan Thomas was more of the ideological progressive. He was running on ending poverty in North Carolina. Whereas Bill Toole was like, expand healthcare, combat climate change by doing this, and this. Strengthening education, legal weed, and then use the taxes from the legal weed to combat the opioid epidemic and teen depression. So he was like, platform. Like, policy. Getting things done. And I can explain this very simply. Bill Toole, his campaign website, when you were looking for policy, it was 4 separate pages with like 10 paragraphs each. Alan Thomas's entire platform page can be summed by 5 paragraphs on 1 page. So you can tell one of them was more ideologically like he was more straightforward with policies. Another thing was that Toole seemed to be more running with the people, like running as a candidate and getting his name known out there. And he just seems like more of a good guy. Now the thing is, this is funny. I've described Bill Toole as like policy. So you might think like, oh, Bill Toole must be an elected official. Nope, he's a lawyer. Alan Thomas is the elected official. Hook County Commissioner. So yeah, just if you've already been on my website, you already know this, but I'm endorsing Bill Toole for Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina. He just seems like a more legitimate candidate. He seems like he's focused on policy, straightforward with, we need to do this, and this. Now, here's the thing. Technically, one candidate seems to be more good because there's some North Carolina progressive accounts that I follow, like Our Revolution, North Carolina, North Carolina DSA, a website that, like a Twitter account that's literally just NC for Bernie. And they're following other lieutenant gubernatorial candidates like Chaz Beasley and Terry Von Doon. Now, it'd be nice to support Terry Von Doon. She's a girl. But no platform equals no deal. Like, no platform on your website, no deal. Just straight up no deal. Unless I already know your platform, which I don't. I don't know who Terry is. And Chaz Beasley, on his official Facebook account, he says political views moderate. So yeah, I'm not supporting him anytime soon. So with all that out of the way, here's one race that's kind of the biggie. North Carolina Senate. Senator of North Carolina. That race is pretty notable. It is considered by political scientists as the 4th most likely seat to flip in the Senate in 2020. So, there's a lot of pressure to get this right, because if you don't get this right, this seat could still stay the same. It could still be Republican. And as such, there have been quite a few candidates that are trying to get this seat. And lo and behold, I'm kind of disappointed with the results. So let's start with just who these candidates are. On the Republican side, I'll keep it brief. Tom Tillis is the incumbent, Sandy Smith is a farm owner, and Garland Tucker is a former CEO and chairman of Triangle Capital. Due to the fact that Tom Tillis has been making some really big fuck-ups in regards to Donald Trump, it is pretty clear that he might be kissing his Senate seat goodbye soon, even in the primary, because, even though the primary currently has Tillis polling higher than, his candidates, like his other opponents, he's still weaker than, he's still historically the weaker senator, especially considering that not long ago, he slightly criticized Trump with the border wall, just slightly. He didn't do it too much, but he did it enough so that people in North Carolina are who align with Trump, are a bit angry. So, yeah, that's not going to bode well for him. And in regards to third parties, we have Shannon Bray running for the Libertarian nomination. There's nothing else to say on that. So, that's not important. As I've stated before, this is the third most likely seat to flip, so there's a lot of pressure for Democrats in particular. There are currently 5 candidates in the race. First, Trevor Fuller. Trevor Fuller has been running since January and has yet to give a platform. Moving on. The next candidate is Stephen Williams, a candidate for mayor of Durham in 2009. He didn't even win the mayoralship, so he's not important. Next. The next candidate is Atul Goel, who is a doctor. Not elected official, not important. Next. Really, this race is boiling down to 2 contenders. Erica D. Smith, a state senator, and Cal Cunningham, a former state senator and candidate for the other Senate seat in 2010. Now, Erica is trying to position herself to be the opposition of Cal Cunningham, because there's some things about Cal that are clearly some screwed up things. I'll start with Erica first. Erica's trying to position herself to be the progressive. She's running town halls with all these other candidates. She's, running on I support these. I support progressive policies. I'm the progressive in this race. Platform for Progress is what she calls her platform page on her website. But the thing is, she doesn't go far enough. Every time she talks about healthcare, she always says, we need to make it so that people have better access to healthcare. Access to healthcare. When literally all she needs is 3 simple words, and I'll vote for her. Medicare for all, just 3 simple words. That's all you need. You can hyphen. You can not hyphen. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Just say Medicare for all and I'm all yours. But she won't say it. So she's not positioning herself as the opposition to Cal in that regard. The real reason that she's trying to position herself as the opposition of Cal is because of very simple things. Let me explain. Up until this year, Cal Cunningham has been running for the lieutenant gubernatorial race first. Now he's running for Senate. Notice that might be weird. Why would he suddenly flip from lieutenant governor to this? Well, it's because since this race has so much pressure, the Democratic Party is clearly trying to shake things up and make their own candidate known. They want look at all these other races. Arizona, it's likely to flip. They've already chosen Mark Kelly to be their candidate. Colorado's likely to flip. They've already chosen John Hickenlooper. In all these big likely to flip Senate seats, they were already choosing candidates to be the party favorite. And that's Cal Cunningham. He's the Democratic Party's favorite. Especially considering I know one piece of information that I didn't know previously when I said all this. But first, I'll start with something interesting. This Senate race, I've been trying myself to get it to be like, don't blow it. So, I've been pressuring certain people to try and run for the seat. I've been trying to get Marcus Brandon, who's a guy who was a state senator here. He's gay, he's black, and he was a Dennis Kucinich aide in the 2008 election. He ran for the 12th district in a special election, so you can tell he's progressive because he was running a Medicare for All platform in that election. Then I wanted to get him to run, but he hasn't really said anything. Another person I've been trying to get to run is Brad Miller. Brad Miller is a former representative from the 13th district. Now, he's not really 100% the most progressive person ever, but he did support the 2016 election of Bernie Sanders. So, I'm I legitimately yeah, 100%, yeah. I'm for this guy running for Senate because he was actually speculated to run for Senate in 2010 and 2016, and Elizabeth Warren and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the PCCC, were trying to get him to run, and I think he'd be a good candidate. He was one of the leading House figures that tried to get the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau up, and I do think that he could be a legitimately good candidate. I also tried briefly to get Ike Johnson, who is a candidate for the North Carolina 3rd Congressional District in 2019, because he was the only one who legitimately was like, I posed a simple question to the candidates. I'm like, Medicare for all, yes or no? And he was like, yep, sure. So yeah, that guy's pretty cool. I would have liked him to run. But the biggest person I've been trying to get to run was Cecil Bothwell. But Cecil Bothwell has declined the idea because he's going to be in his 70s or 80s when the election happens. So he's like, there's no point in me running. So I'm like, that sucks. You were legitimately the one good candidate that I legitimately think is the perfect candidate to run. So, yeah. You screwed up for me, broy. But now I've learned that there's another candidate that I would have liked to run for this seat. Now I think should have run for this seat and should run for the seat right now. Jeff Jackson. Now, Jeff Jackson, he's currently followed by the North Carolina DSA account, and so's a speculative candidate, but I'll get to that in a second. But Jeff Jackson has made it known that he attempted a run for the seat. He legitimately was going to run for the seat at one point. But here's what happened. Jeff Jackson, he flew to Washington, D.C. to get Chuck Schumer's approval to run for the Senate. Because again, fourth most likely seat to flip, there's a lot of pressure. So Jeff Jackson went to Chuck Schumer to try and get his blessing, pretty much. Like, he wanted to kiss the ring of the Democratic Party to see if he could be a good candidate. Now I might say, wait, you wanted this guy to run? Yes, because here's the thing. Look at Jeff. This is what Jeff Jackson said. Jeff Jackson told Chuck Schumer, look, dude, I have a plan that can win this seat very simply. I'm going to hold 100 town halls in 100 days, like a town hall a day. I'm going to reject corporate PAC money, like go to the populist. I'm going to knock on people's doors. I'm going to go to the common people. I'm going to raise grassroots funding only. I'm going to go to the people. I'm going to get everybody's attention. I'm going to make sure that everybody knows Jeff Jackson is running to be the candidate of North Carolina and is going to make North Carolina great. It's going to run a progressive left-wing campaign that'll make sure that the populist left will be done. Chuck Schumer decided to quote Infinity War and said, let's talk about that plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way, it'll be really good. Here's my plan. You run, like you announce that you're running for the office. You spend the entire primary in a basement, pretty much begging large corporations for money. Then, when the general election rolls around, we then take that money, then spend it 100% on attack ads on Tom Tillis, and just hope that you win. Jeff Jackson disapproved of this and was like, no, I am not going to do this. This is not who I am, and I will not run a campaign like this. Lo and behold, now Cal Cunningham is running for the seat. And Jeff Jackson is not. Jeff Jackson said, well, technically, I could have ran, but with Chuck Schumer throwing all of his money against me, what's the point? And that's why I think Jeff Jackson should run for the Senate. Like, seriously. This is the reason we need you. We want someone who does not want the special interests in Washington. We want that. But unfortunately, he's not going to. And he's already given his support behind Cal Cunningham. Because Cal Cunningham's the frontrunner, so what's the point? And yeah, that's kind of the thing. People like Cal Cunningham is literally running as if he is the candidate. Right now, he's running as if he is the candidate. And I so desperately want to stop him from being the candidate. But I can't bring myself to vote. I might vote for Erica Smith, but I'm not going to be endorsing her campaign. I'm not going to be enthusiastic about Erica Smith. None of the candidates are good. And people are just like, well, aren't you excited? 2020 is a big election. Yeah. For literally all the other seats, there's nothing interesting in the Senate run here. All the candidates suck. Plain and simple. North Carolina Greens, heed my call. Run a candidate in the general election. That way I might actually be able to bring myself to have enthusiasm to vote for a candidate. But anyways, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when a future video of mine comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go to my website or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Quora, or check out my articles on the Independent Political Report.